I never expected a quiet cabin by the lake to turn into a battlefield. But that's exactly what happened the day the HOA tried to kick me out. I'd bought the property years ago, a charming little cabin tucked into a wooded corner with a dock that stretched out over a peaceful lake. It was the perfect escape from city life. I loved fishing at sunrise, grilling on the deck, and listening to loons call across the water. It was mine legally, fully, unquestionably. Or so I thought. One sunny morning, a notice appeared pinned to my door. Bold red letters screamed, "Notice of eviction, violation of HOA regulations." I laughed out loud. HOA? What HOA? I muttered, flipping through my deed. My property wasn't part of any association. I owned the land, the cabin, the dock, everything. I double-checked, triple-checked. Yep, all mine. But apparently, ignorance wasn't going to save me from Karen, the notorious HOA president whose reputation for overstepping boundaries was legendary in the county. She and her cronies had decided that because my dock was visible from their side of the lake, I was technically under their jurisdiction. Somehow, in their minds, my private property had become a shared community asset. They showed up the next weekend with a letter, clipboards, and 2 men who looked ready to haul me off if I refused. "Sir, you must vacate the premises immediately," Karen barked. "This is in violation of HOA bylaws. Your cabin is not compliant." I smiled and invited them in. "By all means, let's take a tour," I said, pouring everyone a glass of iced tea. They hesitated but followed. As we walked to the dock, I gestured toward the water. "Notice anything unusual?" Karen's eyes narrowed. "This is part of the lake. The community." I held up my deed. "Nope. Every inch of this dock, every inch of this shoreline, belongs to me. You're standing on my land. Legally, you're trespassing." Her face went pale. I could see the gears turning in her head. She hadn't expected this. She always assumed fear and intimidation would work. But intimidation doesn't work when the person you're threatening owns the lake and the land they stand on. That's when I pulled out my secret weapon. A small binder filled with property maps, survey reports, and legal precedents confirming that my cabin and dock were completely independent of their HOA. "I'd advise you read these before sending anyone else over," I said casually. Karen tried to argue, but every word she spoke was crushed by cold, hard evidence. I could see the frustration building. She was used to getting her way by bullying neighbors and using loopholes. She wasn't used to facing someone who not only knew their rights but had documentation to back it up. Over the next week, Karen escalated. She sent letters claiming I was endangering the community, tried calling local authorities, and even threatened fines. But every move was met with calm, precise legal countermeasures. My lawyer drafted notices clarifying my ownership and demanding that the HOA cease all interference. Every time they tried to send someone onto my dock or into my cabin, I was ready with proof that they were trespassing. One Saturday, Karen tried one last stunt. She showed up with a small crew, planning to inspect the dock while I was out fishing. Little did she know, I had installed discrete cameras around the property weeks ago. When she stepped onto the dock, the footage was live-streamed directly to my lawyer. Within minutes, the HOA received a call from an attorney warning them that any unauthorized entry would result in criminal trespassing charges. Karen froze, realizing she had overstepped massively. She backed away slowly, muttering excuses about miscommunication and bylaws, but no one took her seriously. Her credibility evaporated in front of the rest of the neighborhood, who had begun watching the saga unfold. Some neighbors even called to apologize for having ever supported her overreach. By the end of the month, Karen and her HOA were forced to officially acknowledge that my cabin, my dock, and the entire shoreline were mine and mine alone. Any further attempts at harassment would result in severe legal consequences. I returned to my dock one early morning, casting a line into the calm water, feeling the gentle splash of the lake against the posts. Peace had returned, not because the HOA gave up, but because I had proven legally and decisively that they had no power over my property. Sometimes, Karen still drives by, glaring across the water, hoping to provoke a reaction. I just smile, reel in my line, and let the lake remain exactly as it should. Mine, quiet, and untouchable. All it took to win, knowing your rights, and owning the lake.